So if we take track renovation to the ultimate end, what are we going to do? Are we going to end up, renovating 4 metres wide to flatten that mound out? Well, I've been no-tilling for 20 years. I'm not going back to that.
I think we've got to, it's horses for courses a bit with that one too, isn't it? While like it's, there is some guys like Drummy that, I'm going to have to sort of fix up those traps more often than guys that parallelogram, because it is difficult without a parallelogram seater. But probably the one problem I see with my guys is renovating too aggressively and actually heaping it right up. And especially if you've got your main wheels on your bar running on those renovated lines, trying to keep the bar and tractor and everything on the one spot is bloody near impossible. So you end up having these wobbly lines running through, and then you've got to try and interroso through that next year, and yeah, it's very, very hard. So that's probably one of the things you just got to be aware of, and probably guys have made the mistake of trying to repair them quickly in 1 year, and it's something you've probably got to look at doing every year, but not as aggressive, and just get them enough so you can get seed placement right and can still keep the machinery tracking the right way. Any other questions from the floor? Yeah, Greg? Brady, this has got your name all over it.
Yep. We've it's a transition to get to this controlled traffic, and the pieces of the puzzle are slowly getting laid for us. But this year we're looking for a second disc machine, but we weren't convinced that we're still not convinced that it is completely the right thing to do. So to basically postpone that decision, we've gone to we run an 1820 John Deere bar at the moment, air hoe drill, and we've gone to a 12 metre 381 mil 1830 bar. So I looked at a range of different tine machines, and basically, once again, we're focused on getting our crop in a timely manner, and I believe that one will give us the capacity to go a little bit quicker. It's far from ideal as far as the amount of soil that it throws, but we've used that system for a long time. We're comfortable with it, and it's just helping us in the, I believe we'll be able to pull it at maybe 11.5 kilometres an hour. So it just allows us to get both machines working in the same paddock, and I think that's our best alternative as far as not going to a second disc machine.
There's a question, Ross here.
Do you think it'd be beneficial to use different sized tyres to do your renovation on your track?
I'll just
alternate whatever year. If you had a wet spraying, you could use big hardened tyres that collapse the walls of the track.
Did everyone hear that question? The question was, would it be beneficial to use a wider tyre on a sprayer or a tractor when you're going back in on those tracks to maybe collapse in the side walls and help flatten it out naturally by the wheels? That's what you're talking about, Ross? Yep.
Yeah, well, the ones that are causing us the major grief, Ross, at harvest time are header and chaser bins, and they're 900 tyres now. So I couldn't run wider tyres than that on my sprayer. Yeah, sure. We run the pizza cutters on the sprayer. In our soil types, we can do it. We cut into the soil, but you've only got to go, say south of Matawa, Newley, when they've got much deeper topsoil soils, and they'll get a foot deep. So that's getting a bit ridiculous. Whereas most of the time, ours aren't too bad. With the renovator, we can knock the edge off them, just dish them back out a bit. We made the mistake this year on some paddocks of over-renovating and getting them mounded up, and you can't keep, tractors and things, they won't steer on the mounds. And then you've got a groove on the side, so you've taken out the groove where the wheel track is, and you've got a groove each side where the disc's bitten in on the renovator, and we're having trouble establishing there. So we've, robbed Peter to pay Paul. So in a dry harvest, what the harvester does is it actually does a pretty good job of renovating sprayer tracks, because it does exactly what you mentioned. It crumbles the sides in, and that's all we have. In our system, that's all we have to do.
Anyone else want to have a stab at it? Steve, here, you going with, you're on the York Peninsula. You reckon Drummy's got the great soils and great environment, but Steve's probably even better again, I reckon. See the coast from his back door just about. How are you going? We're on a different soil type again with your wheel tracking.
Yeah, we're probably on sandy loam over clay. We probably don't get the deep compaction or the deep wheel ruts quite what you guys get, but certainly in areas we do. And now this was our first year we had our renovator, and we're pretty short on time, so we just went and hit the spots where we were having real issues, where we did have those deep ruts, because yeah, especially with our sprayer on 15-inch wheels, you get thrown around pretty well if they're not in a straight line. It's not the most comfortablest ride. So yeah, we just went and hit all those rows, and it was a pretty steep learning curve for us using the renovator. But yeah, definitely don't want to go you don't want to get too big a heap or anything, otherwise you end up dancing all over the top of it, especially with a sprayer on the narrow wheels. But yeah, no, but it seems to be overall been pretty happy with it, and it's done what it's had to do. Obviously, that's our roads, we're always driving on it, and it's like any road, you just got to look after it and treat it like that.
Yeah, good question here in the middle. Did everyone hear that question? Just on tyre widths for headers?
We considered it 5 or 6 years ago. We'd done several trips to the Dalby and seen what they were doing up there, and we're pretty impressed with their setups, and a lot of them were running narrow tyres on harvesters. But they're a very expensive setup, because they're mining or construction type tyre to take the weight. And at that stage, we weren't having wet harvests. We were having pretty dry harvests, and we were finding that the wide tyres on the tractor were doing enough of a renovation job on the spray tracks. So I think if we were to run narrow tyres now in our system, we'd be making our tracking worse.
I don't think, just my two bobs on it all, I don't think we can go back narrower than what we are, purely for a stability point of view for harvesting our legumes. And then you'd say, the Mallee boys, if you're harvesting cereals, but you probably need the flotation on your sands anyway. So I think really it's just a necessary evil. We just got to stick there or go to tracks. And I think the sooner one of you blokes buys a track header, the better. Well, it'd be good.
But yeah, if you're going to have a track header, you've got to have a track chaser as well.
Yeah. Harry's up the back. He can talk to you about that if you want. Right down the back, got a question? Jules on a header?
We used, where's Doc? We had, back there, we had Jules on a header that we used on our place last year. Fantastic for stability, fantastic for flotation. Didn't do as much damage as I thought they would do. So I was pretty impressed with the Jules. Will I be putting Jules on a header? No, I won't. But I don't know, probably saying the wrong thing here, but if I was perhaps in sandy conditions, I might be running Jules. But certainly on tractors, the work was done at Dalby as far as establishment under the Jules and in between the Jules, and the work tends to indicate that you're taking a fairly big penalty on Jules.
Yeah, question in the centre here again.